Hey, what's going on, No Nation? It's CJ Wilson here with Doaktalk. Got some recruiting quick hitters for you guys. Have a special guest here with me. We have the On3 national host and producer, Josh Newberg. Josh, how's it going?
Great, good to be here, man. Just coming off this On Three Elite, really great event that we just had. So we'll talk all about it here in a minute.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you just said, On3 hosted their elite event up in Nashville. The top 50 players in the country per the On3 rankings were in Nashville. You spoke with a plethora of recruits and things like that, a few that had some FSU ties. I want to talk about a few guys just to see exactly what you got from those interviews and the
hmm
takeaway from FSU moving forward as we shift into the summer official visit heat wave. First kid I want to talk about, Tavion Wallace, four-star linebacker out of Georgia, top 50 player in the country. What's your take on Tavion?
I mean, first of all, I was at the event, and they come in and they do check in, and then they go get their height weight. They do like an NFL Combine style height weight with Charles Power and Cody Belair, and then they came into a room with me, Chad Simmons, and Steve Wiltfong. So um, when Tavian Wallace walked in the room, I mean, we all just kind of like looked at each other like, damn, we've seen some big dudes walk in the room or some well put together athletes walk into the room. And when Tavian walked in, I mean, he's one of those first off the bus type guys. I'll
Mm.
say that first and foremost. But yeah, we had a great conversation. Clearly, Florida State is out in front for him, kind of maybe a dangerous spot for the Knolls to be, but they are out in front heading into the summer. And, he's from South Georgia, from Jessup, Georgia, and he grew up a Gator fan. And one of the things I asked him was, well, how did you grow up a Gator fan, living in Georgia, South Georgia? And he said, my dad was a Gator fan, big Gator fan. So I was a Gator fan and thought that was kind of funny. He says the Gators are his number two team. I still think Georgia is a major threat there. They're not out of it. They're definitely pushing. Um, we'll see what happens, but right now everything sounds great for Florida State, and he would be a much needed prospect at a big need position too.
Yeah, most definitely. Linebacker is definitely a position need for this cycle. And I've been telling folks for this cycle, I've been kind of surprised from the board that Randy Shannon has. He has a pretty nice board as far as elite linebackers, and FSU is in the
Mhm.
mix for a lot of those guys, which has been kind of surprising. Hasn't been the case over the years. And also, you mentioning first guy off the bus type for Tavian, and just looking at his 100 time, he's a sub 11 guy in the 100 meters, so
Yeah.
elite type of athlete. All right, so this one here kind of had some buzzwaves going around in regards to a shocker. Kaliq Lockett, five-star
Mhm.
receiver out of Texas. He ended up taking an unofficial visit to FSU over the spring, and it kind of opened his eyes. In that conversation with Kaliq, what did you take away?
Oh man, Kaliq. I first of all four of those wide receivers really. All Travis Smith was a good one too, but I'm talking about Vernell Brown, Kaliq Lockett, Jaime Ffrench, DeCorian Moore. They were all unbelievably fun to be around, and they're all very similar. They're all very uh, competitive, but also very funny. And like Kaliq Lockett, we were sitting down for an interview, and Vernell Brown walked in, and like me and Kaliq are talking, and he just kind of like he keeps looking over there, and he's like, "Is that?" He's like, "Oh, that's that." He goes, "Oh, that's Vernell Brown." He goes, "Oh," and he just starts going off about how cold Vernell Brown is and how nasty he is, and he's just like, he's like he's one of the best. Like he was just genuinely like happy to be around Vernell Brown, and that's how they all are. Like Decorian Moore and Kaliq have been friends since eighth grade. They played little league football together. Jaime Ffrench, I mean, I don't need to say it. We all know how charismatic Jaime Ffrench is and how fun he is to be around. And Kaliq Lockett, same kind of attitude. And we'll talk about Vernell Brown in a minute, but Kaliq Lockett, yeah. So coming out of the week with Decorian Moore decommitting, I think the sentiment a lot of people had was that Decorian Moore and Jaime Ffrench were probably going to go to Texas, and that meant Kaliq Lockett was getting penciled into LSU's class, and it seemed like that might be the way that it goes. And really, after talking to these guys, Kaliq Lockett, I mean, he made it clear that hey, him and Decorian Moore had been talking since eighth grade about potentially playing together, and now that he's leaving LSU, like that happens. And then I ask him if there's anybody else involved, and he says Florida State, and I kind of initiated it by saying is Florida State on the outside looking in. And he said, no, they're one of my leaders. And he's basically said, I got 4 leaders. So really, what I took from it is there's 4 teams he's involved with right now: Texas A&M, Oregon, Texas, and Florida State. And all 4 of those teams are in equal footing. Um, he loves Coach Norvell and Coach Dugans, and I think they blew him away on the visit. And he'll be back. They'll have another crack at him. And it sounded really good. He's very genuine, and it sounded like he has a real connection there with Florida State.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how FSU looks coming out of that official visit with Lockett, if they're going to try to pull off a major upset. Like I said, I wasn't too high on it coming into the visit, but hearing his words post visit and also hearing his words for the interview with you made me circle that official visit, a little bit more upcoming in June. The
Yeah.
next one, this has been
Hold
up
on.
and down as
And,
well.
and just to finish it off, I still think Kaliq Lockett's a long shot because look, he's in the state of Texas. He'd have to fly over Texas, Texas A&M, and LSU to get to Florida State. His family's heavily involved. This is just one of those scenarios where I think he loves Florida State. Now, if FSU can go out, have a great visit with him, which I know they will, get him back on campus in the fall, maybe make something happen. I just think in the end, there's so many options closer to home.
I agree, and we're going to speak about another receiver pretty soon. But it's crazy. FSU Texas has a chance to reel in 3 5-star receivers within one class, which is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
Vernell Brown, this is an interesting recruitment. The entire spring, it seemed like Ohio State was the upfront leader in running away with his recruitment. But now things have started to shift a little bit. And speaking with Vernell, what was your thoughts on that?
This is the one. Like, this is the wide receiver that Florida State fans are going to get excited about. This is the one in-state guy that I think right now they probably have a I don't know, a lead for. Let's just put it that way. I think, all things considered, I think Ohio State has slipped. I think it's probably the in-state schools with maybe Ohio State looking on the outside looking in. That being said, that's how it stands talking to Vernell Brown. He is currently probably on his way to Ohio State right now, or he leaves in the morning. So he'll have that Ohio State official visit this weekend. DeCorian Moore is going to be up there with him. Brian Hartline is going to spend the whole weekend with these guys. Vernell Brown and DeCorian Moore were hanging out all weekend in Nashville. Now they're going to be together in Columbus. I think right now Ohio State trails for both of them going into the weekend. I think DeCorian Moore, I would pencil him into Texas class right now if today was signing day, but it's not. And so we'll have to see if these guys are singing a different tune coming out of Sunday's visit, but knowing that Florida State's going to get their crack at it. And I talked to Vernell Brown about a decision. He's going to make it sometime in July or early August. So Florida State will probably be his last visit. And you got to like how that sets up because they were the leader heading into the summer. Even if they fade here for a week or so, don't sweat it if he comes out of the Ohio State visit saying that they're in a great spot and it sounds all good. That June 21st weekend is going to be the big one to watch. He's going to be on campus. And I think that, coming out of that, he'll sit down with his family. And by the way, he's like a pro's pro. He's not a kid. He's not a recruit. He is a young man. When you speak to Vernell Brown, I mean, he's incredible as a person. And really fun to be around the whole weekend. And I think if I'm a Florida State fan, that's the one I'm putting the target on right now to land.
One of the best receivers in the country, had an explosive spring in the 707 circuit. This is very productive. And also to note, like I say, he's visiting June 21st for that big recruiting weekend for FSU. A big recruiter in his ear, so to speak, is a 4-star quarterback commit, Tramel Jones, who will also be visiting that weekend as well. And also Florida Gator alum, who his father is a Legacy kid. So we'll see how that plays out. But I do believe FSU is a really good spot with him. Really good stuff, Berg. Let people know where they can follow you at if they want more recruiting information from you.
Man, On 3 Recruits channel, we have, I did like 13, 14 interviews, all the top kids. We had a great time doing them. And go to On 3 Recruits channel. We are just getting started over there, CJ. But it's great. You guys got a great thing going over here. It's good to see you. Let's talk about Jaime Ffrench for a second before I get out of here. Are you a little?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying Florida State did anything wrong when I say this, but I'm a little surprised that Florida State's not in this heading into the summer. They're not in this.
I agree too, especially with the comments he made to you in regards to that top 3, and it was more so just communication and constant recruitment, things like that. And to hear, hey, Florida State was my childhood school coming up and things like that. And even prior to his commitment to Alabama, FSU was rumored to be the school. And even after he decommitted,
Yeah.
FSU was rumored to be the school. So I'm not sure if it's a lack of communication on FSU's part as far as not doing their due diligence with the recruitment, but something seems a little off there, and I'm shocked as well, especially with Tremel Jones, the who's a teammate of Jaime Ffrench, committed to FSU as well.
Yeah, I think the only chance FSU has is a big season and they come back and they circle around. It's one of those deals where you probably don't hear anything about Jaime Ffrench for a while, and then all of a sudden, a week or two before, you see a Zach Blostein tweet about Jaime Ffrench coming in for an official visit for the last game of the year. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it's gonna come. It's gonna if something happens, I think it's gonna be one of those scenarios. So not anything wrong with that. I also think Jaime Ffrench is just interested in who he's interested in, and we'll see what happens. But just having that name have been on the radar for like the last year and a half, 2 years, it's just kind of weird that Florida State's not involved in that recruitment whatsoever heading into the summer.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That was a kid I'm still very high on and thought FSU had a pretty good shot at. Just a little miscommunication, but like you said, I wouldn't be surprised either if throughout the season FSU has a pretty good year, and then like I say, Zach drops a tweet saying he's going to be on campus for the Clemson game.
Right,
So,
that it's on because
right.
we all know. I mean, these visits. I even asked Jamie about it. Like I said, are these really your leaders? Or are you just very impressionable on these visits? Because it almost feels like he comes off a visit and that's my new leader. Or,
Mm-hmm.
he said Tennessee's definitely in my top 3 at one point. Then he said Texas is on top coming off that visit. So he has that in him to take a late visit and feel it and maybe flip. So I'm not crossing them all. I'm keeping them kind of off the board for now, but I'm keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, I agree. That sentiment is perfect, as you said. Probably be a summer commitment, but wouldn't be too shocked if during the season around late October, late November, things start to change a little bit. Well, it's definitely good to see. And also, if you guys know, you're on through your national now, but when it comes to FSU and things like that, you're one of the original OGs when it comes to covering FSU. So definitely appreciate you over the years and what you do. So again, make sure you guys subscribe to the On Through Recruiter channel and like the videos. Here, like this video, subscribe as well. We have more recruiting news coming as there's a big official visits as we're going into the official visit swing for the month of June. So make sure you guys tune in. Go Nobles.